He went broke to test his son, but what he discovered left him devastated forever. The air crackled with tension as Michael threw the last crumpled dollar bill into the blazing fire. Flames danced high, eager for more, as he exhaled a shaky breath. This wasn't just a financial gamble, it was a test of everything he believed about family and loyalty. Friends had warned him, saying he was a fool, but how could he possibly understand his son without risking it all? The walls of his modest home seemed to close in, heavy with expectation and unspoken fears. What if the laughing, carefree boy he raised wasn't who he thought he was? What if, behind the goofy grin and endless tech talk, there lay a heart of stone? As the ashes floated away like fading dreams, a chilling thought crept into his mind. Just last week, a stranger had approached him, whispered something about betrayal lurking in places Michael wouldn't even dare to look. Was it nonsense? Was he just allowing paranoia to seep in? Still, the chill that gripped his spine begged him to listen. The faint memory of that warning echoed, sometimes, the ones we love can hurt us the most. Michael's gut twisted. How could he ignore it? His phone buzzed on the table, shattering the suffocating silence. It was a message from an unknown number, just a single word, trust. His heart raced, thickening with dread. Why would someone ask such a loaded question? Was someone watching him? The shadows in the corners of the room seemed to thicken like clouds of uncertainty, wrapping around him tighter with each passing second. Did his son even know about this angle of the test? Did he deserve to find out the truth? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Lost in his thoughts, reality blurred around him. The fire dwindled, but his worries flared. A knock echoed through the hall, deep and menacing. Michael jumped, every nerve ending alive with fear. Who could it be? The walls felt alive now, whispering secrets, sharing tales of doubt and betrayal. As he opened the door, each creak of the old wood sent shivers coursing through him. Standing at his threshold was a woman he barely recognized. Her eyes were wide, frantic. "You have to listen to me," she gasped, breathless and trembling. "Your son, he's in trouble. Danger is coming." A lump formed in Michael's throat. His heart pounded like a war drum. Was it true? Had the test pushed them too far? What lay ahead was shrouded in thick, menacing fog. Would he have the strength to face whatever was coming next? Michael's breath caught in his throat. The woman's panic was palpable, a vibrating force in the doorway that pulled him closer. "Who are you?" he managed to ask, but there was a tremor in his voice that betrayed him. "Lena. I am a friend of your son," she stammered, her eyes darting nervously behind her. "I need to tell you he's mixed up with something dangerous. It's not just a game anymore." Those words wrapped around Michael like a vice. His son, Luke, caught up in something dangerous? It couldn't be true. Luke was bright, ridiculously smart, and the kind of kid who helped old ladies cross the street. Yet, there in Lena's frantic gaze lay the dawning of a truth he desperately wished to deny. "How do you know this?" Michael pressed, urgency falling from his tongue. His mind raced back to every moment he had brushed off Luke's odd behavior over the past few months, the late nights, the secretive phone calls, the unsettling aura that seemed to cloud him. He's been working on something. A project that went too far. "Now, they are watching him," she whispered, her voice trembling as if she were unveiling a monstrous secret. "You need to bring him home. Fast." She stepped forward, panic spilling over as she gripped his arm. If you don't at 1T just be him in danger, it'll be you too. Please, time is running out. The knot in Michael's stomach twisted tighter. He pulled back, dislodging her hand. I can't just bring him home. You're not explaining anything. Despair clawed at him, scratching its way up. Was this woman just a harbinger of chaos? Please, Lena interrupted, desperation coating her words. I swear, they're dangerous people. Think I'm crazy? Look at my hands. She held them up, revealing faint scars and bruises that told a story of struggle. I was with him, and I got hurt just for trying to help. If you don't believe me, just ask him. The flames from the now pale fire behind him flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls of his home. Everything he held close felt like it was slipping through his fingers. His son. This strange test had only revealed a fracture that now threatened to rip them apart irrevocably. I don't know if I can trust you, he said, more to himself than to her. The unknown number's simple question loomed larger in his mind. Would he trust the words of a stranger? But the alternative was worse, to risk Luke being trapped in a dangerous spiral without a father to guide him back. Lena, seemingly sensing his resolve wavering, leaned in closer. You have to choose now. Either you fight for your son, or you might lose him forever. Just then, Michael's phone buzzed again, slicing through the tension with an almost mocking ring. He glanced down. A message from that unknown number. Trust is earned, but is it too late? His heart stopped. Suddenly, the house felt smaller, every shadow seemed like an ominous witness, and dread seeped into every crevice of his being. Michael, don't wait. We need to go now. Lena urged, her anxiety bleeding into his own. He hesitated, the weight of the decision heavier than he could bear. Did he dare to follow her? To rush into a world that had, until now, seemed safe? But as the ticking clock echoed in his mind and the phone buzzed again, he realized that time was not on his side. Okay, he finally whispered, a mixture of fear and hope igniting inside him. Let us get my son. But just before they could move, a loud crash came from the back of the house, breaking the silence and sending shockwaves of terror through him. Michael! They're here! Lena shrieked, eyes darting toward the sound. In that moment, he felt the ground shift beneath him. The danger had come to his doorstep. What did it mean for his son, for them both? The night was just beginning to unfold, and with it, a web of danger and revelation. What would he discover next? The crash echoed like a thunderclap, reverberating through Michael's bones. Adrenaline flooded his system, forcing him into action. We need to go. He urged, urgency spilling from his lips as he grabbed Lena's wrist. The shadows danced around them, the air thick with the scent of fear. He was about to bolt for the front door when another sound pierced the oppressive silence, a low, guttural laugh that seemed to curl around his thoughts. It was followed by a clatter as something heavy crashed to the floor in the kitchen. Michael, they've found us. Lena's voice hitched, panic lining her features. We have to get out of here now. Her grip tightened around his wrist, her fingers trembling, and he wondered for an instant if she knew exactly what was hunting them just outside. Go! Now! He shouted, his heart racing as he led her toward the back of the house. His mind raced too, sorting through the chaos. What could possibly be happening? Who were these people Lena feared? His legs moved faster than the whirlwind of questions, throwing his mind off balance. They hurried through the narrow hallway, dodging the fallen books strewn from the family shelves, relics of happier times. Just as they reached the kitchen door, another crash echoed behind them. Michael turned to see a shadow emerging from the darkness of the living room. The intruder was tall and broad, a figure cloaked in menacing shadows, stepping into the dim light of the home. Leaving already? The figure chuckled, mocking them. Michael recognized that voice, but his throat went dry. The last thing he needed was a face he knew tangled in his son's dark web. Luke! He shouted, putting everything he had into the name. The hope that had flickered within him now erupted into a desperate flame. We need you. Where are you? The figure didn't answer. Instead, he stepped into the illuminated space, revealing a twisted grin beneath a black mask. It was a face Michael wasn't prepared to see, and his breath caught again, a fresh wave of dread washing over him. The man's gloved hands rested intimidatingly on a black duffel bag slung over his shoulder. He's not here, Michael. But you and Lena, you can help him. The words dripped like venom, hinting at a game crueler than he could imagine. Lena's grip on his wrist grew tighter, a silent plea. Michael, he's one of them, she whispered, her voice quaking with the weight of realization. The intruder laughed again, cruel and cold. One of them? Oh no, I'm just the deliverer of unexpected news. Luke chose this life himself. You should be proud. A wave of nausea crashed over Michael as the man dropped the duffel bag on the ground. It unzipped with a swift flick, and Michael's blood ran icy as he caught a glimpse of what lay inside. It wasn't computer parts or gaming consoles, it was tools he had never seen before, things that belonged to a world darker than he could fathom. Why, what's happening? Michael stammered through clenched teeth, barely able to process the scene that had unfolded. Did you hurt my son? Let's just say Luke understands risks better than you do, the man taunted, stepping closer. With a surge of outrage, Michael lunged forward. What did you do to him? But in that frantic moment, he felt a sharp tug at his shoulder. Don't! Lena hissed, her eyes wide. We need to get out now. Before he could argue, another thundering crash echoed from the front of the house, and the wall beside them trembled as if the very structure of their lives was about to collapse. Enough of this, the figure snarled, his expression darkening. Time's up. Either you come with me or your son pays the price. Panic exploded inside Michael's chest. Every nerve screamed for action. He could leave now or confront the abyss that awaited him, spawning a world where he might lose Luke irrevocably. The weight of his next move felt heavier than the air charged with impending doom. Lena's warning remained unspoken, yet it reverberated in his ears as he stood there, wrestling with nightmare realities. It was now or never. What was he willing to gamble for his son? Let's find him, he whispered, soul as raw as the chaos brewing around them, feeling for the first time that uncertainty might just take him somewhere terrifying and illuminating, but little did he know, Luke was tangled deeper in darkness than Michael could ever imagine. What awaited them in the shadows? The seconds ticked away, heavy with tension. As Michael agreed to follow the cloaked figure, dread coiled tightly around his insides. We don't have time for this, Lena breathed, her eyes wide with fear. Michael, think. But his decision was made. Luke was out there, lost in a storm of chaos that had enveloped their lives. We'll find him, he said, more to himself than to her, and he stepped forward, adrenaline sharpening his senses. The intruder motioned them to a side door, the faint outline of the external world barely visible. We have to move fast. The others won't wait for us. Michael nodded, desperation blurring the edges of his reasoning. The gravity of the situation intensified as they moved through the door, stepping into the darkness beyond. Outside, the moon cast a pale glow over the yard, but the scene was anything but peaceful. The once familiar space now felt alien, the shadows stretching longer as if hunting them. Michael's every nerve twitched with primal instinct, sensing the unseen danger lurking nearby. Where's Luke? He demanded, trying to pierce through the smokescreen of fear and confusion. What's this about? The figure glanced back, his mask reflecting the faint moonlight. He's involving himself in things that are bigger than you realize. He might as well have a target on his back. Each word rang in Michael's ears, churning a mix of fear and rage. How do you know him? We all know Luke. He's made connections, seen things you never will. This isn't just a game for him. It's survival, the figure hissed with an air of twisted pride. As they moved deeper into the night, the silence thickened, swallowing them whole. Michael felt the hellish weight of some unseen force pressing down on him, suffocating his resolve. Lena's breath against his arm was reassuring but could not drown out the void opening up before them. "Stop!" she suddenly gasped, pulling Michael to a halt. He turned to see her face pale, her eyes locked forward, trembling with terror. "What is it?" he pressed, following her gaze. In the distance, flickering lights danced like fireflies, illuminating a clearing just off the path. Michael knew that place. It had been a forgotten playground, once filled with laughter. Now it buzzed with twisted energy, infested with shadowy figures marching with purpose. The air felt charged, something was about to break loose. "What are they doing?" Lena whispered, eyes wide with horror. "Something bad," Michael breathed, a cold crawl of fear running up his spine. He squinted, trying to discern who was out there, what exactly they were doing with his son hanging in the balance. "Stay close," he instructed, stepping into the underbrush. The quiet rustle of their footsteps was shattered by a low roar erupting from the clearing. It felt like a call to arms, an invitation to the darkness. "What if we get caught?" Lena's voice trembled. "We have to know what is going on," he insisted, his instincts kicking into overdrive, every fiber of his being screamed at him to stop. Yet, deeper in that clearing, he thought he saw a figure that resembled Luke. Had he changed? Was he too far gone to save? Michael pushed through the thickets, every step heavier than the last. He focused on the shadows, searching for glimpses of his son among the chaos, but uncertainty clung to him like a shroud. What if they were too late? What if the world he thought he knew had fractured beyond repair? Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the trees as a bone-chilling scream pierced the night. It wasn't just any scream, it was Luke. Michael shouted, the name tearing from his throat as dread clawed at his soul. Lena gasped. "We have to go back." But Michael didn't hear her. He was already moving forward, the thrill of pursuit igniting a fire within him. As they broke through the final brush, the clearing unfolded before them, not a playground, but a battleground. Men in masks circled a tied-up form amidst heavy shadows, their eyes gleaming with malicious intent. Everything clicked into place, the full horror congealing in Michael's mind. Luke wasn't just lost, he was ensnared in a trap of his own making. "Get ready," the masked figure beside him muttered ominously. Two choices flashed before Michael, fight or flee. But there was no chance for second guesses. A decision had to be made. With the stakes higher than ever, Michael felt a surge of determination coursing through him. He was no longer just a desperate father. He was ready to stop at nothing to save his son, even if it meant diving straight into hell. As he surged forward, the cries of desperation echoed around him, tugging at the edges of his resolve. Would he be strong enough to face what lay ahead? And in that dark clearing, at the brink of chaos, a new question loomed: how deep into the abyss was he willing to go to bring his son back? The crackle of branches underfoot reverberated through the oppressive silence, merging with the desperate wails that clawed at Michael's heart. He was lost in a storm of emotions, each one crashing as hard as the last. Luke was out there. His son. Bound and vulnerable. "Michael!" Lena hissed, pulling at his arm, desperation woven into her voice, but he was already past the point of no return. He could hear the chanting now, a low, rhythmic sound that raised the hairs on the back of his neck. It couldn't be right. Were they really performing some kind of ritual? His eyes darted over the masked figures, each one shrouded in darkness, their faces hidden from him. In the center, the flickering fire illuminated the tortured figure they had gathered around. Michael's breath hitched in his throat as he leaned into the shadows, trying to discern the body before him. It was Luke. Bound tightly with ropes that seemed too cruel and unforgiving. His son had clearly been through hell, bruises lining his arms, but his eyes, they burned with a defiance that sparked hope within Michael. He wasn't beaten yet. "Stay behind me," he urged Lena, his voice barely a whisper. He was no soldier, but the primal instinct to protect surged through him. Despite his fear, resolve anchored him in that moment. As Michael edged forward, one of the masked figures pivoted, each movement deliberate, each breath a prelude to chaos. "You shouldn't be here," a low voice growled from behind the mask, sending a jolt of terror through Michael's veins. Not waiting to process, he gritted his teeth and lunged forward. The figure stumbled back, surprise flashing across their hidden visage. It was just enough to create a small opening. "Luke!" Michael shouted with a force he didn't know he had, a surge of adrenaline flooding his body as he powered through. Lena's warning fell upon deaf ears, he wouldn't turn back now. Suddenly, chaos erupted. The others turned with shouts and movements blurring into action. Michael felt a fist connect with his jaw, sending him tumbling to the ground. Pain exploded in his head, but he got up quickly, fueled by primal instinct. "Get away from him!" he roared, lunging for Luke again even as chaos swirled around them. Michael could see Lena now, her frightened eyes darting helplessly from him to their son, but he couldn't afford to look away. In a matter of seconds, hands grabbed at him. He was fighting against one, then another, a whirlwind of fists and masked faces converging. Disoriented, he swung blindly, landing a wild punch on one, feeling bone meeting bone. There was a cost, and he felt it in the form of his own bruising wrists as he twisted free, relentless. "Luke!" he called out again, desperate for even a flicker of his son's gaze to anchor him amidst the chaos. And then, in a split second, he caught sight of that familiar face. "Dad!" Luke shouted, hoarse and ragged, his voice louder than everything else. The sheer strength in that single word propelled Michael forward. He had to get to him. He had to breach the encirclement. Just when it seemed victory was close, screams erupted from beneath the trees. The figures stumbled back, panic rippling through their ranks. There, emerging from the shadows, a towering presence cloaked in darkness joined the fray. "No!" The voice sliced through the din, a sinister, commanding tone that seemed to stop the very air around them. The masked fighters faltered, fear shimmering in their eyes. Every instinct screamed at Michael, he had to move. But the world slowed, uncertainty creeping in. Who was this new figure? What was at stake now? Gripped by fear, he realized they were not just participants in a ritual but pawns in a game far more convoluted than he had imagined. "Step back, or he'll suffer," the figure warned, pointing a menacing finger towards Luke. Michael could feel the ground shift beneath his feet as the dark presence loomed over them. Blood thudded in his head as his pulse quickened. Every decision held consequences. Every moment could lead to salvation or disaster, and as shadows danced around, a realization struck like lightning. They were not just after Luke, but after something else, something within Luke that could change everything. What had his son become in this deadly game? And was Michael willing to risk it all to save him? The answer lay within the storm, but for now, the questions lingered like the shadows before them, waiting to unfold. Michael's world narrowed as the towering figure loomed closer, darkness shifting around them like a living thing. The masked cultists hesitated, their eyes wide with fear. Time was stretching, each second a fragile strand ready to snap. "Let him go!" Michael shouted, rage and desperation mingling in his chest. The scent of smoke from the fire stung his nostrils, grounding him in the moment. He had to act. Luke's eyes were wide, filled with both fear and defiance. "Dad, don't!" he gasped, as if sensing the danger that even now slithered closer. And then, a pulse of uncanny energy surged through the clearing. The cloaked figure raised an arm, an almost regal gesture, commanding silence. "Your son possesses what we need," the figure said, voice smooth like oil, deep and entrancing. A wave of panic hit Michael. "Need for what?" he demanded, fists clenching tighter than ever. Images scrambled in his mind, each one darker than the last, visions of the unspeakable rituals he'd heard whispered nearby in town. Were they really planning to use Luke for something horrific? "You wouldn't understand, nor would a simpleton," the figure sneered, twisting a dagger-like finger back toward Luke, who squirmed at the heart of the circle, fear evident in every muscle. But his sacrifice can open doors to unimaginable power. Sacrifice. The word hit Michael like a brick, a cold chill creeping up his spine. No. You have no right. He screamed, the primal fear surging to the front. At that moment, the masked figures shifted, their chanting rising in a sickening crescendo. The forces that had once seemed mere shadows now took on an almost tangible life, pulling at the edges of Michael's sanity. He couldn't watch them drown Luke in darkness, couldn't let it happen. Not without a fight. Summoning all his remaining strength, Michael lunged, breaking through the circle of masked figures. Each movement came with a blinding rapture of pain. He caught a glimpse of something shimmering around Luke's wrists, a flicker of metal that glowed with a sinister light, binding him deeper into their web. "Help me!" Luke cried, the desperation in his voice tearing at Michael's heart. With a raw force fueled by desperation, Michael barreled forward. He felt fists against his back, blows to his side, but nothing would deter him. Nothing mattered except getting to Luke, pulling him from whatever grasp had taken him. He was nearly there when the figure struck, arms outstretched. With a flick of the wrist, a jolt of energy surged through the air like a whip crack. Michael was thrown back against a tree, pain exploding across his body. "Stop! You can't have him!" Michael howled, shaking his head to clear the fog. But the figure just smiled, their eyes gleaming with a malicious satisfaction. "Oh, Michael, this was never a choice for you. You should have known that." Lena darted forward, a look of fierce determination etched on her face. "Michael! Behind you!" she shouted, urgency crackling in her voice. Before he could react, a figure sprang from the shadows, grappling him to the ground. A mask obscured the attacker's features, but Michael could feel the weight of their intent. Not just a fight. This was a reckoning. "Get away from my dad!" Luke yelled, and the intensity in his voice made the air shift. He didn't know how he was doing it, how he suddenly seemed to harness an otherworldly strength, but the moment struck like a thunderclap. The ropes binding Luke snapped, the power of something unseen giving him freedom. "Luke, run!" Michael managed to yell, but he could still taste the panic in his throat. Would his son escape in time? The chanting grew louder, fervor exploding into a frenzied roar. Michael felt the thud of impending doom, and then the ground beneath them quaked, as if the very earth disapproved of their dark gathering. In the midst of that chaos, a blinding light flared from Luke, rippling outward like a wave. Everything shifted. The masked figures recoiled, their faces twisted in horror as the energy pulsated like a heartbeat. What are you?" the dark figure whispered, eyes wide. With disbelief, before Michael could savor the moment, a flash of brilliance erupted, enveloping them all. The sounds of shouting and fear morphed into a deafening roar, consuming everything around them. And then, silence fell. Where was Luke? Where was Lena? Had they all vanished into the void? In the stillness, the chilling realization formed in Michael's gut. Whatever Luke had become, the price of his son's survival was far more than they had bargained for. As shadows began to form again, they writhed and squirmed, beckoning him toward a deeper darkness. What ancient truth awaited in the heart of this horror? And could Michael confront it alone? He had to find them. But in that moment, something else watched waiting to be uncovered. The air was thick and still, suffocating in its silence. Michael's heart raced as darkness twisted before him, ghostly shapes flickering in his peripheral vision. He squinted, trying to pierce the inky blackness where moments ago, the spark of his son's power had burned bright. "Luke! Lena!" he shouted, his voice echoing back through the void. His throat felt tight, and panic surged again, threatening to swallow him whole. He staggered to his feet, the ache in his bones sharp and biting. A low, guttural growl resonated from the shadows, a sound that curled around him like icy fingers. Michael felt the adrenaline pour through him, sharpening his senses. He had to move. The weight of his desperation was a leaden burden, but he pushed through it, stepping cautiously, the ground uneven beneath him, and then, a glimmer of light. Michael turned, straining to see, his breath shallow and ragged. Just a glint, but it sparked hope, pulling him toward whatever lay beyond the black. "Luke!" He called again, louder this time, fueled by the need to reach his son. He stumbled forward, chasing the light that danced like a mirage. As he approached, a chill crawled up his spine. The shadows thickened, morphing into grotesque shapes that twisted unnaturally. The growling returned, now layered with whispers, a chorus of sinister voices that dripped with taunting laughter. "You seek him? You are too late." Each word dripped with malice, winding through his mind like a snake. "No!" Michael roared back. "I want to let you take him." Ahead, the light pulsed, dim but steadfast. With every step, the shadows seemed to retract, but the whispers grew louder. Visions flashed through Michael's mind, his son's face, innocence shattered, snatched by the darkness. He dashed forward, the pulse of the light driving him. Suddenly, the world erupted around him, the sound of rushing wind filling his ears. The array of masked figures had returned, their eyes wide with dread, taking form from the darkness. They hovered like predatory birds, waiting, hungry. "Foolish father," the towering figure from before intoned, stepping from the crowd, its presence imposing and fearful. "You are not the protector here. You are the hunted." A jolt of defiance surged through Michael. He wasn't prey. Not now. Not ever. Before he could act, the figures closed in, arms outstretched. The familiar blend of scents hit him again, singeing smoke and wet earth mingled with the metallic scent of fear. He stood his ground, fists clenched, ready to fight for his family no matter the cost, and then, as if summoned by his defiance, a blinding brilliance erupted from the depths of the darkness. It was Luke's energy, striking outward like a beacon, illuminating everything with a fierce intensity. The shadows recoiled, shrieking in protest, their forms warping and disintegrating under the surge of light. "Run, Dad!" Luke's voice cut through the chaos, strong and unwavering. Michael turned, and there stood his son, unharmed but glowing, a vision of pure resilience amidst the horror. "Luke!" Michael shouted, joy flooding his senses, his heart racing. "Get to safety." But as he turned to maneuver through the swirling chaos, a dark figure lunged from the corner of his eye, arms outstretched. Michael barely managed to sidestep, feeling the rush of cold air against his skin as it missed him by inches. "Father and son shall not escape." The voice, filled with rage, resonated around him, slicing through his triumph. Momentum shifted, and in the confusion, Lena emerged, scrambling toward them. "This way!" She shouted, fear and determination mixing in her gaze, but the masked figures were regrouping, their malevolence rekindling, chanting once more. Michael could feel a tug in the air, a thickening pressure as they prepared another ritual that he sensed time slipping away, the threads of hope unraveling. "Do not falter." Luke's voice was an anchor amid the storm. "Together, we can break this together." Then, a tremendous sound echoed, a resounding crack. The ground trembled beneath their feet, as if the very earth was resisting. The darkness, what had they unleashed? As Michael stood, fear cascading down his spine, he couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper lurked beneath this battle of light and dark. "Move!" Lena yelled, grasping Michael's arm, pulling him towards Luke. In that moment, a piercing beam of light shot up into the sky from Luke, pushing back the shadows but stirring something else, something old and powerful, something waiting for its moment to strike. What had begun as a desperate rescue was morphing into a battle of wills, a collision of dark forces and unexpected power. But as he raced toward his son, Michael wondered, what other truths lay in the depths of this nightmare? Would they emerge, or would they be consumed by the darkness that hungered for their souls? The ground shook violently beneath their feet as Michael sprinted toward Luke and Lena. The air was alive with crackling energy, a mingling of fear and fierce determination. Yet, even as hope flickered, the oppressive darkness clawed at them, hungry and relentless. "Luke! Hold on to that light!" Michael shouted, his voice nearly swallowed by the chaos as they darted toward the flickering glow. He could see them now, figures writhing in the shadows, their faces obscured. Each movement was a grotesque ballet, as if the darkness itself had come alive. The chants intensified, a collective roar that vibrated through Michael's bones. Lena squeezed his arm, breathless. "What do we do? They're everywhere." Her eyes darted wildly, searching for an escape. Together Luke's voice rang again, grounding them amidst the storm of fear. "We need to focus." Suddenly, the shadows began to swirl closer, their outlines shifting like thick smoke. Tendrils of darkness reached toward them, grasping, pulling at the edges of their minds. Michael felt a sudden flicker of doubt, a whisper creeping through his heart. Were they strong enough? "No!" he roared, pushing the thought away. "We will not falter." With that declaration, he charged at the nearest figure, feeling the surge of adrenaline coursing through him. The figure recoiled, its eyes wide with surprise, just enough for Michael to slip past into the radiant circle of Luke's light. The sensation was like stepping from ice-cold water to warm sunlight. The shadows hissed, retreating momentarily, their sounds a mix of fury and fear. "Keep moving," Luke urged, the glow surrounding him brightening, pushing back the oppressive darkness for just a moment longer. But suddenly, a dark shape lunged, twisted and monstrous. It shot towards Lena. Michael's heart skipped as he turned just in time to see his daughter stumble. "Lena!" he shouted, panic clawing at his throat. The masked figure loomed over her, arms outstretched, ready to snatch her into the void. "You're not safe here. Get away from her!" Michael roared, feeling a strength rise within him fueled by desperation. He lunged forward, shoving the figure away as Lena scrambled to her feet. But there was no time to celebrate their small victory. More shadowed figures came rushing, their intentions clear, their movements like a dark tide crashing against them. "Quick!" Lena yelled, her voice rising above the chaos. "To the light!" She pointed toward the pulsing brilliance, now radiant and strong, a stranglehold on the shadows. "Stay close!" Michael commanded, and they huddled together, joining their forces. The shadows shrieked, a collective cry of rage and defeat as the light broke through their ranks. "Don't let go!" Luke shouted, his energy flaring, illuminating their path ahead. As they broke through the ranks of lurking horrors, Michael's heart soared. The corridor ahead shimmered, a glimpse of freedom beyond the chaos. But just as hope surged through him, the ground gave way. Something shifted beneath their feet, a chasm of darkness opened up, widening with a sinister clawing sound. "Run!" he urged, pulling at Lena and Luke, but more tendrils appeared, wrapping around him, dragging him back. "No!" Michael fought against them, struggling, his arms flailing as he clawed for the light. With a sudden jolt, Luke steadied his father. "Together!" he cried, his voice like a magnet pulling them back into unity. Michael fought the darkness, a surge of exhilaration propelling him forward. He knew this was more than physical, it was a battle of will. Yet even as they surged toward the horizon of light, a chilling thought wormed its way into Michael's mind. What if this was just a fight for survival? As they neared the edge, the darkness would not let go without a final fight. The last remaining shadows coiled around the family, their voices filtering in, soothing and sinister. "We know your fears, your regrets, your pain." Michael's stomach dropped, the darkness hinting at secrets he had buried. "What do you know?" he yelled, defiantly refusing to let them undermine his resolve. One figure stepped forward, its voice smooth as silk, dripping with malice. "What is it that you've hidden from them? What cost do you bear, Michael?" They hesitated at the precipice, voices swirling, doubt creeping back in. Michael faced Luke and Lena. "No matter what they say, we fight together." But the shadows laughed, their sound echoing in his mind. Will you still fight when you uncover the truth? Could the fight for his family cost him more than he could bear? The ground trembled again, and before Michael could answer, an unseeable force yanked at him, the shadows tightening their grip. And in that moment, as darkness threatened to swallow him whole, he wondered if escape was only the beginning of an even darker journey. Would they unveil the secrets buried in the shadows, or would the truth tear them apart forever? Michael's breath caught in his throat as the shadows tightened their grip, pulling him away from Luke and Lena. Every instinct screamed at him to fight back, to break free and reach his family. But doubt crept in again, the whispers of the darkness wrapping around his mind like a vice. "Don't listen to them," he shouted, his voice barely breaking through the cacophony of shrieks and chants. He could feel Lena's panic, a sharp ache that mirrored his own. "Dad!" Luke's voice was filled with urgency, "We need you here." The shadows pulsed around him, and suddenly, Michael was face to face with the figure that taunted him earlier. Its eyes glowed like embers in a dying fire, a mirage of malevolence. "What will you sacrifice?" it hissed, its breath cold against Michael's skin. "Will you betray them?" "No!" Michael roared, the sound breaking through the haze. "I want to let you win." With a surge of energy, he pulled against the tendrils, feeling the resistance crack beneath his will. Lena and Luke were still there, inches away, their faces twisted with fear and determination. He could see Luke raising the light, a bright beacon against the encroaching blackness. "Together, Michael!" Luke yelled, his voice steady as a rock. In that instant, something shifted. The wall of shadows began to waver. Michael pushed harder, reaching deep within himself for every ounce of strength. "We fight as one," he shouted, pouring his heart into his words. The darkness screamed, entwined in a chaotic frenzy. Tendrils snapped back, and suddenly, Michael felt his body being yanked forward, not back, but toward the luminous force Luke held high. A blinding light surrounded them, illuminating the chasm of despair that sought to swallow him whole. As the shadows recoiled, Michael surged forward, breaking free. He stumbled into the light, and in that moment, everything changed. Warmth enveloped him, wrapping around his body like a comforting blanket. He turned to see Lena and Luke stepping closer, their faces illuminated with a mixture of relief and disbelief. The shadows writhed just outside the light's reach, slithering and seething like a storm of angry snakes, but they began to dissolve, their power weakened by the unity of family. "I can't believe we made it," Lena whispered, her eyes wide with wonder, but Michael shook his head, the reality of their situation settling heavily on his chest. "This isn't over, not yet." The ground beneath them solidified, but it felt unstable, the air trembling with unspent energy. The shadows were still out there, regrouping. But Michael knew deep down that there was more at stake than just physical survival. "What did they mean?" Lena asked, voice trembling. "About secrets and costs?" The words hung in the air between them, heavy with implication. Michael could feel his pulse racing. He could no longer deny it, something dark lay in his past, a burden he had shielded from his family. It was that darkness that had been clawing at him all this time. "I'll protect you. No matter what comes," he promised, but uncertainty gnawed at his insides. What truth lurked just beyond the horizon of that light? Would unveiling his hidden past fracture the bond they shared? Luke stepped closer, the glow from his own light flickering. "We can face anything together, right?" "We will face it," Michael declared, his voice steadier now. "But first, we need to find out what they want." Before they could move, a chilling wind swept through the air, wrapping around them like a whisper from the abyss. The shadows began to rise again, coalescing into a massive, swirling form that loomed before them, dark and ominous. "We are not finished with you, Michael." The figure shouted, its voice thunderous and ringing with malevolence. "The truth awaits," buried deep within you. Panic surged through him, but beside him, Lena and Luke stood resolute, their presence a fortress against the darkness. They would not stand down. They couldn't. But what if the truth they uncovered was more dangerous than the shadows themselves? As shadows lunged once more, Michael felt the weight of the moment shift. This was only the beginning of a terrifying reveal. Would they dare to face what lay ahead, or would the truth break them apart irrevocably? In the eye of the tempest, the darkness coiled around Michael, Lena, and Luke like a predator sizing up its prey. The air crackled with anticipation, thick with fear and determination. "What do you want from us?" Michael shouted into the void, voice steady even for the terror rushing within him. The looming shadow twisted, a grotesque mockery of a human form. "We want the truth, Michael. The truth you buried, the truth your son holds. And together, it will forge something beyond your understanding." As those chilling words echoed in the air, Michael felt a push from within. He wasn't just up against shadows, he was confronting the darkness in his own heart. "No!" he shouted, defiance igniting in his chest. "I won't let you manipulate us." Beside him, Luke's light pulsed, brighter than it ever had. "We're not afraid of you," he yelled, voice rising above the chaos, filled with newfound strength. With the collective force of a family standing together, the shadows hissed and recoiled, revealing a path ahead. "Look!" Lena pointed. Light fractured through the edges of darkness, illuminating the way forward as if inviting them to uncover the secrets hidden within, but before they could hesitate, the shadows surged again, a last-ditch attempt to ensnare them. The figure roared, "You cannot escape." Its voice thundered, echoing like a warning bell. With fierce determination, Michael grasped his son's shoulder. Together, no matter what. In that moment, they became a fortress of hope against the encroaching abyss, mirroring each other with unbreakable resolve. Lena stepped forward. "What is buried must be faced. We can't hide from it anymore." Her voice rang like a clarion call, awakening something deep inside Michael. The time for secrets was over. They stepped through the light, pushing forward as shadows clawed at their heels. Michael felt the souls of those he loved binding around him, the fierce connection igniting a blaze of courage. They pressed on as the shadows writhed restlessly, the echoes of old fears fading to whispers. The darkness screamed, impotently trying to drag them back into its malevolent embrace. "You will regret this choice." It thundered, but Michael knew better now. They were reclaiming their story, and no longer would any enemy define them. As they moved deeper into the light, visions began swirling around the memories, fleeting and visceral. Michael saw glimpses of the past he'd tried to run from. Shame, grief, and painful regrets flashed before him like lightning. He recoiled, heart pounding, but then he felt a tug, anchoring him to the love and strength of Lena and Luke. "Embrace it!" Luke shouted, his pulse echoing like a heartbeat through the air, resonating with the flickering light. "It's part of who we are." With that simple truth, Michael steadied himself amidst the whirlwind. The brutal honesty of his past, the mistakes that had filled him with regret, were now surfacing, not to tear them apart, but to reinforce their bond. Time seemed to slow. Each fragmented memory fell away, replaced by reflecting pieces of light. Every laugh shared, every hug given, the unwavering support through heartbreak and joy. Forming a chain of strength that transcended the shadows, Michael reached out. "We won't let fear control us. We embrace our truth together." In a blinding flash, the weight of his past seemed to dissolve, intertwining with the radiant energy surrounding them. The darkness recoiled, terrified of the bond that had become unbreakable. "No!" it shrieked, fury and desperation mingling. But it was too late. Michael stood resolute, fortified with his family together. They were stronger than any shadow could hope to be. "Let us end this." He rallied, heart bursting with resolve as they surged forward, the shadows crumpling beneath their united front. The pulse of Luke's power thrummed with each step, guiding them toward an unknown yet welcoming expanse, the darkness peeling back to reveal a path bathed in light. Finally, they broke free, bursting through the encroaching shadows and emerging into the soft glow of dawn. The nightmare that had ensnared them unraveled behind, dissolving into wisps of smoke that faded from existence. Beneath the awakening sky, Michael held Lena and Luke close, breathless relief washing over him. Tears blurred his vision, but they were no longer tears of fear, only gratitude for the safety of those he loved. "We did it," he breathed, wonder threading through his words. "Together," Luke echoed, entire worlds of hope nestled in his voice. "I will always fight for you," Michael vowed, heart soaring. As morning broke anew, they turned to face whatever lay ahead, knowing they would encounter it as a family. Whatever truths remained, they would uncover them side by side, for love had proven stronger than any shadow, and together they were unstoppable. Now, if you found this conclusion gripping, make sure you subscribe immediately to this channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will hit you right in the feels. Smash that like button now. Your support truly feeds the algorithm and helps us grow this amazing community. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. I want to hear everything, and don't wait even one more second. I need you to instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let us keep this journey alive, together.